This is very individual, actually, and that's why I said forward planning around this. I think is the way to go as far as that's possible, and making clear what the individual's early warning signs might be. For example, for bipolar, it might be that people become a bit over the top, a bit over talkative, irritable or snappy perhaps. People with schizophrenia, if they start hallucinating more, might become more distracted, appear to be responding to external stimuli, these sorts of things. I think it's, if you can map those at the individual level ahead of time, that's the way to go. If you can't, then the general things would be to look for whether there's a particular change in the usual pattern of behaviours. And if you notice that change in the usual pattern of behaviours, I think it's quite legitimate for a concerned employer to ask the individual whether there's anything going on for them. And that would be the case across the board for caring employers, and hopefully it can be done in a very non-threatening manner. The other thing I should say is, SANE Australia have some very good, useful material for employers as well. They have a little booklet which can be bought, so if people check their website, they can order those as well. And that gives a number of different useful tips.
Great. Yes, and I think it is quite difficult, and this is if somebody hasn't disclosed that they have a mental illness and the co-workers or the employers are concerned that the person's behaviour has changed, they're acting differently, maybe they're not making sense, maybe they're very withdrawn or upset. It is much harder to approach somebody who comes into work who's cheerful or withdrawn or acting strangely than somebody who's come in limping. It's much easier to say that you have an accident playing footy at the weekend than is there something the matter. So I think, A, giving yourself permission that this is tricky, but also not being scared of going forward, not retreating, and that it is, you know, an obligation as well to ensure that staff are well and able to do their jobs, and so being able to find ways to communicate with the person, to ask them if they're all right, if they do need to take some time off, should they see their GP, that staff are concerned that they're struggling, and using vocabulary that isn't inflammatory.
It's also framing that discussion and saying, you know, I've noticed X and Y, but I don't want to intrude, and but would it be helpful for us to have a discussion about this? And you know, I'm just asking because I would like to be able to assist you if I could. You know,
yes.
That's that sort of discussion.
Yes, not a threatening conversation. Yes.